Hello and welcome to Service Marketing topic as a part of Marketing 5000 course at Webster University in Tashkent. This is Mamurjan Rahimov. This recording has become possible thanks to generous support by UNESCO Unitwin Open Courseware Open Education Resource Initiative. I must say that this is one of my favorite topics because I myself work in services sector for a long time. I've been working in mostly in services sector for a long time. Our learning objectives are few but very important. First, discuss the growth and importance of services. Identify the characteristics of services that differentiate them from goods, and there are many. Describe how the characteristics of services influence the development of marketing mix for services. 4. Explain the importance of service quality and explain how to deliver exceptional service quality. And lastly, discuss the nature of non-profit marketing because it's also in the area of services. All right, so this is my alma mater, my Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and in foreground, in the background is city of Atlanta skyline. So I spent about 2 years at this university, and I got my bachelor's degree in marketing organization management. Uh, and all these buildings that you see in the foreground and the parks, they belong to this private university, and this is not one of the largest universities in Atlanta area or even in the greater United States. But it shows that services, how big services have become. Developed countries, lion's share of GDP comes from services. For example, in the United States, that's education, healthcare, banking, transportation, retail, and many other types of services. That's why services have become very important. Services marketing have become very important. Many universities have specialized courses on service marketing and even deeper, maybe marketing of retail, marketing of uh, drugs, medicines, marketing of education. So it, it is service marketing has become a major branch of modern marketing. So let's recall, we earlier we talked about services briefly, but let's recall the definition of services. And what is service? An intangible product that involves a deed, a performance, or an effort that cannot be physically possessed, right? So the service is not the same as customer service. We're talking about the intangible product. So, for example, right now you are receiving education, but uh, you are not physically uh, taking over my knowledge, right? So, in fact, I'm becoming more knowledgeable by teaching the subject for so many years. So that's one of the characteristics of services. As we mentioned before, services are becoming of increasing importance to the U.S. economy and world economy in general. Long-term economic growth and lifestyle changes have encouraged service sector expansion. Uh, my master's degree is in economics, so when it comes to development of a country, most countries started with agriculture because this is uh, one of the easiest things to do. So you plant the seed, and um, you have a crop at the end of the year or at the end of the season. Then, as the countries developed, they moved into production. So they have accumulated capital, and they bought equipment, and they started producing something. Um, and as the development continued, many countries shifted into services sector and outsourced production, even agriculture, to other countries because services are more profitable. Services are being more demanded by customers. Business services have grown as the business environment becomes more complex. So, besides teaching at universities of Tashkent, I'm involved in some consulting services for different kinds of businesses, together with my colleagues who also have studied abroad. You can imagine services as theater. So the actors are the service workers, create the performance in the form of services. So performance involves a script, right? So you can borrow that from theater, right? A chronologically ordered representation of the steps that comprise the performance. So services also require that actions be performed in a standardized way, and this is one of the most difficult things. We're gonna talk about that in a bit. So, who said? Quick question: who said that all the worlds is a stage? It's a very famous quote. Actually, it's a part of the quote. This is a gist of the quote. The original quote is a bit longer than this one, but in short, all the world is a stage. William Shakespeare. So Shakespeare said that all the world is a stage. So especially for service companies, you have to think of your service company as a theater where you're performing an act, and it should be standardized. So, for example, if you're showing um, some Shakespeare's plays, so uh, if new customers come to your theater and your show is different, then it's not going to make them very happy, right? They heard about excellence of your theater and they came, but the performance didn't go well, so they would not be happy. So same thing in services, any kind of service. These are the characteristics of services. We're going to look at each one separately, but I would like you to start thinking uh, which one of these characteristics makes services especially different from products, tangible products at that. Well, many say it is intangibility, right? It's in the definition, the major characteristics that distinguishes a service from a good. A service is not physical and cannot be perceived by the senses. You cannot touch and feel services. Services cannot be physically possessed, as we said before. But for example, warranty, right? It's intangible, right? But um, most people do not buy anything significant without a warranty, right? So even though it's intangible, it is very important. And we're going to talk a little bit later how companies can make their intangible services more tangible. Okay, so something is being done about that, so, and there's a system to do that. In fact, we can place many products and services on a continuum, right? So it's very hard to find pure products and pure services, right? So they are in somewhat continuum. So, for example, you might say automobiles. Automobiles are, um, you know, pure products, but they must come with warranty and services and maybe even call center. So, yes, it is more good dominant, right? But it's more tangible. That it contains many intangible things. Same thing with education, right? It may be service dominant and it's more intangible, but we have buildings, we have classrooms, we have equipment, we have some tangible things that make education more tangible. Now, another characteristic is inseparability of production and consumption. Yeah, it's in most cases, in majority of cases, you cannot separate consumption from production. For example, here in the picture, that airline is providing the service and you are there, right? So production and consumption is happening at the same time. And in my opinion, right, this is my subjective opinion, uh, perishability is the most important characteristic, or the characteristics that makes services most different from tangible products. Why? Let's take a look at the barbershop, right? With the equipment and space and people and supplies. Let's say on a given day, this barbershop can service 50 customers. So if only 25 customers show up that day because maybe it's rainy or maybe there's a quarantine in town, uh, so customers cannot get there by car, so only people on walking distance can come if the barbershop is open. Then you cannot store those 25 remaining uh, services, which you could potentially deliver to the next day. So next day you have to start from scratch. That's why it says here, unused service capacity from one time period cannot be stored for future use. That's when service marketing becomes handy. So they try to market in such a way, they service marketers, they try to market the services in such a way that to sell all the services on the same day, on the same hour. So supply, balancing the supply and demand becomes very important. I hope that this was clear to you. Well, perishability can be used for tangible goods as well. For example, strawberries or tomatoes, they're highly perishable goods, but they can be stored under special conditions in freezers or coolers for a longer time and can be sold the next day or the day after. But when it comes to services, they're 100% perishable. 100%. If you cannot utilize your capacity, service capacity in one day, you can never store it to the next day. Take again the airline industry. So let's say you have 100 seats, but you can only fill half of that because of your marketing, and 50 seats they fly empty. So you cannot store 50 seats capacity for the next flight and put 150 in the next flight. So it's a lost opportunity. That's why marketing has to be really good in services. Whereas, if you cannot sell your potatoes or cars today, you can store them for the next day and you can still sell it. Okay. Now, the next term or next characteristic is heterogeneity. Service has variations in quality, right? So manufactured goods are easier to standardize, right? So you make a mold, for example, for plastic toys, and they all come out in the same size, in the same color and weight. Uh, Heterogeneity increases as labor intensiveness increases, right? So as you use more labor in provision of services, the it's harder to standardize it. Remember your recent visit to supermarket, right? This is in Uzbekistan, Korzinka supermarket. Uh, so usually at the beginning of the shift, cashiers are more attentive, they're less likely to make mistakes, and they're kinder. But not all of them, but most of them, by the end of the shift, they might become grumpy, so they might not follow all the uh, steps of customer service. They might not be as courteous, as kind um, as it's prescribed, right? So there's a human factor. So that's why another characteristic is client-based relationships, interactions that result in satisfied customers who use the service repeatedly over time. So the company should build trust, demonstrate customer commitment, and satisfy customers over and over again. Word of mouth communication has a key role in client-based relationship building. So take a look at this job advertisement, right? So Ritz-Carlton has positions itself as ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, right? So Ritz-Carlton is one of the best, one of the top hotel chains. So they know how to build trust. They know how to demonstrate customer commitment, and especially they know how to satisfy customers, because in order to understand the customer best, you have to hire people uh, who are highly qualified, who can think like the customers themselves. So that's why this is a very famous slogan, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, right? So especially in hotel services, the relationships are highly client-based, and customer contact is very important. So the level of interaction between provider and customer needed to deliver the service, right? So the look of facilities plays an important role in high contact industries. Well-trained and satisfied employees are essential. So that's why FedEx as a famous model, people, service, profit, meaning that if you treat your employees as people, treat them great, right? Create them excellent conditions to work and opportunities to grow. So in a way, your employees are your internal customers. So if you treat them really well, the people, um, they will provide great service, right? Is If they provide great service, customers are most likely to come back again and again, and the profits will grow. So FedEx has realized the importance of well-trained and satisfied employees. Speaking about the look of facilities, this is sample interior look of a lawyer's office, right? So lawyers, they decorate their offices so well. Well, lawyers' advice is intangible, good, right? It's a service. So, but they try to make it tangible by, putting nice bookshelf in the background, some diplomas and certificates of training and degrees on the walls, right? So that instills more trust on, about his or her services. So same thing goes to, like, dressing up in really nice suit, and having your business card printed on high quality paper. So all of the, and having nice leather chairs, and expensive furniture and the desks. So all that projects professionalism, right? So this is very important, especially in services. So this is a very nice table which summarizes service characteristics and resulting marketing challenges. So if you are in services, you have to consider all of this and make necessary marketing decisions. For example, perishability services cannot be stored, so you have to make sure you balance supply and demand. Unused capacity is lost forever, So that's why I'm saying that perishability is the most important characteristic when it comes to services. That's why service marketing is so important. Let's pause it here, and when we come back, we'll start talking about development of services.